Welcome back to Misfit HQ. Drew and Kyle here to talk to you about pistols. Now, one thing that we hear even at the highest levels is, well, in that workout, the pistols got pretty easy once I felt warmed up. Obviously, halfway, 2/3, 3/4 of the way through a workout, not so great to be just warming up. But as coaches, we need to be able to deliver a plan for you to actually execute so that you feel really good anytime you start a pistol workout and you can blast past the competition. Step one, you probably guessed it if you've seen our other videos, is that sweat check. The way that we get adequate blood flow to all of our joints is by going from a resting heart rate somewhere up into the 130, 140, 150 range slowly. So we go over, because these are pistols, we're gonna use the C2 bike, really great machine. We're gonna be able to get that blood flow. And again, we're just gonna go for 10 or 15 minutes, nice and easy, up to sort of that beginning feeling of working out, maybe get a little bit of sweat there. Once that is done, we're gonna rely a lot on our handy friend Voodoo Floss. And there's a couple of applications for why we would use this, but I think what we're doing today really puts the voodoo in Voodoo Floss. We can really open up those sticky areas. The very first thing I'm gonna have Kyle do is wrap his ankle and work through range of motion to make sure that we're really opened up before we do any pistols. So we wanna make sure when we are wrapping a joint that we're starting nice and low, and we are wrapping up towards the heart and out around to create external rotation within the joint. If you are wrapping inward, start over and go outward. So once he's got that on there, I'm gonna have him plant his foot on this box right here and really get some weight out over that. So we're gonna search through some areas to try to find where there are sticky points while maintaining that contact with the heel and big toe. So it's really pushing that range of motion, making sure that that is open right there. And then I'm gonna have him go back to the empty floor space here. We're gonna open up in that opposite direction. So he could already, depending on his ankle mobility, be getting a pretty good stretch right here. If he's not, he can lift his knee up off the ground a little bit, and that's going to allow him again to search through those points. You want the pressure to be spread out from your big toe to your pinky toe and all around your foot just to make sure we're open there. Obviously, we're gonna do that to the other side, and now we're gonna move on to the knee and start getting into some of the range of motion. With the knee, the same rules apply, but we're gonna be attacking the patella tendon just below the kneecap, and then we're gonna cross in the back side of the knee to not cover the kneecap and go up and get that VMO as well. Now that we have that knee wrapped, again, making sure that the patella tendon and the VMO are there, we're gonna head over to the rig and get into some range of motion. When you're using a band to work through range of motion within pistols, it's going to be really dependent on what your mobility is currently like or what your leg strength is like. So if Kyle really struggled with this, he could take two hands and actually grab up much higher. But because Kyle does like the pistol, he can actually just take whatever hand of the leg that he's doing the pistol on, grab, and then start to work through some range of motion. When you are doing this, especially when you've got the Voodoo Floss on, take some time to hang out like he is doing in this position here. Good, he's gonna come back up. And we're just gonna slowly work through range of motion and really try to open up that knee joint after the ankle. Once we've done that, what are we doing next? More Voodoo Floss. We are gonna go after that hip flexor. Kyle's gonna start a little bit lower than where he can feel the meat of his hip flexor. And as he continues to pass underneath, he's going to work up and sort of fan out on the top part of his leg there. And really all you need to do is put your hand onto your hip flexor in the front and find any of the parts that feel sticky and just make sure we're getting coverage there. Once we do that, we're just heading right back over to the rig and grab onto that band and work through more range of motion. As you get more comfortable, you don't have to spend as much time down in the bottom. You can start to work into some of the bouncing positions, get yourself through a few reps going back and forth. Good. Obviously, we're gonna make sure that we're wrapping both ankles, both knees, both hips. And the next thing that we're gonna do here that actually works for a lot of athletes who are working on pistols outside of a workout is combining the rower and the pistol to really work through some ranges of motion, both on the rower and on the pistol itself. So if Kyle goes ahead and sits down on the rower right now, I can identify as a coach a bunch of shapes that are very similar. When we're closer to the catch, we're gonna be pushing that ankle range of motion. We're gonna get a lot of knee flexion, and then we're gonna make sure that we're working through that knee extension, which would actually complete the pistol. So Kyle's gonna go ahead and start rowing here. Identifying again some of those positions that are very similar. Magically, he is now rowed for a minute or two. He's gonna put the handle back down in. He's gonna step aside of the rower, and he is going to do what you would consider, or he would consider, a larger set of pistols slowly. Amazing, he's done 10. Amazing, he is rowed again. We now have 8 pistols, and he's gonna pick up the pace just a little bit. And last but not least, he's going to go back to the rower. He's going to start to get into that Metcon mindset a little bit. Maybe he's pushing his pace a little bit on the rower to start to get that heart rate up, really push that blood flow. And then we're just going to do 6 pistols at whatever your Metcon speed is. This is a very long warm-up. We got to do the sweat check. We got to do all of the voodoo floss on all the joints. We got to go to the rower to create some shapes that are a bit more dynamic but safer than the pistol, and then we just work back and forth. If you struggle a lot with pistols and you're not putting them in a Metcon, we can still do this exact same session, but your workout is going to be just more of what's happening here on the rower and within the pistols. The last thing that I'm going to leave you with is not relying too much on that sort of bounce side to side, back and forth. When you're doing all of these exercises, one of the benefits is finding your balance point within what is truly a single leg exercise. If you find yourself as that person doing this and waiting for your judge to say you're good to go, there's a pretty good chance that that side to side motion is really taking over your pistol. If you find that that is happening, remember where that balance point was in your warm-up and get back to that. It is better to work through a little bit slower of a rep than it is to pogo stick around your gym all the time trying to figure out whether you've gotten a rep done or not. All right, so again, just a quick recap. We're gonna make sure we get that sweat check and blood flow. We're gonna work through all of that voodoo floss. We're gonna go back and forth between the rower and the pistols. If you like this content, make sure you go put it into use, and then you head over to the Misfit Athletics YouTube channel and hit subscribe so you can see more of our content. We'll see you in the next one.